Okay, hi everyone. We are happy to host another meeting. Today we'll be discussing how to make money with XTRF. We are here together with Konrad, Head of Sales with XTRF, and I'm Andrzej, the CEO of XTRF Management Systems. So Konrad, how to make money with XTRF?
Yes, we want to divide this conversation into two parts, so two scenarios. One would be focusing on what you can get straight away from day one, so short-term gains, and then we will take you to mid-term gains. We will be framing all the business aspects into specific functionalities, specific areas of the system. So stay tuned.
Perfect. Okay, so why don't we just start straightforward with short-term benefits. So how can you see the benefits of using XTRF immediately after implementation? What is this?
Yeah, so the first thing we always do when implementing is optimizing the vendor management aspect. It has several areas to it. So one would be when we do the data import, then in most cases people realize that they have a database full of thousands of vendors, but they only use like 200 of them. So we would only import 200, and then the rest would get a notification if they are still interested in working with this company. So vendor management that then happens after you implement XTRF. That's a topic that we have discussed a couple of times on a couple of webinars. But this area from our discussions with clients who have implemented XTRF compared to how they were working beforehand, that's significant savings.
Exactly. So we have two things here. In fact, while implementing XTRF, you say this is an occasion to update the list of your vendors that you have in your database, right? Because you use only 10% of them. So it's quite probable that all the other data are outdated, right? But another aspect would be, since you realize that you use only 10% of your actual database, you can do something about it, right? Yes. You can use this database much better, right? And in fact, when we say the direct benefit comes from better vendor management, this is strictly related to how the costs are distributed within the project, right? So you can see on the screen how the costs are allocated within the project. The bottom part, 50%, usually is spent on external vendors, so translators, proofreading, everybody involved in the process. Then some 30% is spent on project management, 10% on administration, and hopefully there is 10% margin.
Yes, that would be it.
Yeah, so if we can do something about this 50%, this could be a huge benefit. And in fact, vendor costs, if you can cut them, well, you'll see these results immediately because you spend money on vendors at every project.
And an interesting part is that this split that you have just discussed is seen on every project on the average. And that usually extrapolates pretty closely to the whole financial situation of a company.
So we can say that their total revenue also is spent 50% on vendors.
Yes.
They spend, so if they make $1 million, they spend $500,000 on vendors.
Exactly.
300,000 on project managers and project management and operations, right? Yeah, perfect. So how can we, in fact, improve this bottom line? So how can we change the vendor costs? You said that we can manage better vendor database. That's certainly true. Let's look into the results. If we have more accurate data about who's doing what and who is great in which subject area or language combination, then we can very quickly go into conclusion that we can include much more people into cooperation.
Definitely.
What stops project managers today from doing this is not only poor knowledge of qualities of people, but also certain habits. They like working with vendors that they know, right?
Exactly. So that's a good observation, because people that don't have a system, they don't actually know who are the vendors, and if they do, then they only use these few that they know best.
Exactly.
So they have a project into a language combination or from a client, and they would call this person that they like working with. Regardless if it's not their best specialization, if it's not their closest vertical, that's who they would call and tell them, okay, you worked for this client before, just try and give it your best shot. When in fact with the system does not have sympathies to specific vendors. So it would ruthlessly evaluate their overall quality rating and sort in a descending manner. So the ones that are top rated would be on top. So this way, for a client who demands quality, the proposal to work on this project would come first to those vendors that have been performing consequently best.
Right. So we hear it a lot, in fact, from our clients, and not only our clients, but lots of translation companies we are in touch with, that their project managers, they tend to use people that they know, that they like, that are easy to work with. They usually confirm projects, and they are very easy in communication, right? But this means that if they optimize their vendor assignment in terms of pricing, they optimize it within a very small group of vendors, right?
Exactly.
Those that they like and those that they virtually work together with every day, right? So this is a very tiny group, which means the costs of vendors are not optimized within the whole pool of vendors that they have and within the new vendors that their vendor managers probably find every day or every week, but they still stick to this very narrow group. So if we extended the pool of vendors that we take into account into collaboration in our company, we can change the situation dramatically.
Based on what you said, what we can do is using a couple of the core functionalities of the system. So one is being able to have your database of vendors be easily browsable, to use flexible filters, and not only using them on a database perspective, but also within a project. So this way, when you are able to look into your database in the context of a specific project for a specific client, specific specialization, language combination, specific costs, then you have the same flexibility. You have the same insight into who you work with. So that's one flexibility that here allows us to cut costs. But another thing, how to use it in practice, would be job offers, because you notify those vendors, what we have mentioned, in the order that you want, in a sequence that you want, in intervals that you need to be able to start working with them faster.
Okay, so this means that we can send automatic requests or invitations to take on the project, to participate in the project, to all the vendors that match project criteria, right? And then you say we can send it in cascades so that we do not spam the whole world, but we rather define the rules, who gets the notification first, who is the next. But in that way, we help project managers to engage much more people in this game, rather than only those that they know by heart or like so much, right?
Yes, and consequently, you can reverse this order. For example, from a vendor management perspective, these people have targets to find more cost-effective vendors, but they do, and they never get tested. They never get assigned. So, by simple means of adding a checkbox, this vendor is to be tested. You can have those vendors that are to be tested listed first, and you start with them. So they have a better chance to get work.
Yeah, so that's also the way to include those newcomers, to include them in the production cycles.
Yeah, it's simple as a checkbox.
Yeah, the result can be that you can still optimize the vendor costs, and it might be resulting in few percentages of savings within the total amount spent on vendors. If you just think that you can improve this situation by only 10%, this means that you reduce the total spending from 50% of your total revenue to 45% of your total revenue, and this 5% of total makes a huge number.
Yes, and again, this is not cutting any vendor rates. So you work with the same people, and based on the same rates that you have agreed on.
Right. There is another part of benefits that you can get from the system, right? They are related more to clients.
Yes. So something that can also happen from day one. When you implement, we would set up a client portal, depending on your plan, but there would be a client portal and a quote request form. So what this gives you is the opportunity to accept work, even if you're not at work.
So you become virtually accessible 24/7 because you go into more modern way of serving clients, cooperating through the portals, right? So we hear it many times that clients from Europe start operating with clients in United States or vice versa, or in Asia, right? So different time zones.
Yeah, so that's a matter of scalability that sometimes is seen as very difficult. For example, you work with a European branch of your client, and their US office would not let you have a shot at their project because you're not in their time zones. Well, now you kind of are, because you can provide an estimate automatically in the quote request form. They can get a quote if they already have an account in your client portal, and they know if this is within the budget or no. They can give you the go-ahead, and if it's an automated workflow, it can start while the PM is still being asleep.
Exactly. So joining client portal with automations means that it's not only just acceptance of jobs or new orders from client. Things can actually start to happen, right? Because the system can take on the job, do the analysis, deliver analysis to the client, wait for confirmation, and distribute the project to translators selected by the system, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so this would in fact give the opportunity to increase the total revenue that you generate with your clients because you have a new tool.
Yes.
Right? Another thing I hear a lot is related to minimum charges, right? So how much do translation companies charge a very tiny project, right?
Yes. So that's well, when you think about a project, there's then its cost is connected to the word count, to the volume, but there's a certain amount that's fixed cost. For each project, you will need to generate POs for your providers, to generate a quote for your clients, to generate an invoice. So there's certain things you have to do, whether it's 2 words or 2,000 words,
right?
And they have a certain cost. Without being able to cut this cost, it's only as low as you can go is, say, 10, 20 euros. But we have something to fix it.
Right. So this means that if we apply automation, we can reduce this fixed cost on our side, I mean on translation company side, which allows the translation company to allow much lower minimum charges, which clients expect today with so many tiny projects everywhere, which in fact changes their positioning, their offer on the market, right?
Definitely.
So they become very attractive to all those customers who need very short, quick turnaround assignments. Right?
That's it.
So that's a new sale opportunity that you can surely benefit from right after the implementation of XTRF management system.
The same aspects that we have discussed will have a similar but bigger effect in midterm. So let's go back for a moment to this minimum charge projects. All of these administrative tasks, file handling, issuing documents for the client, for the vendors, on every normal size project, not a minimum size project, these will also have the PM efficiency go down. Thanks to automating this, we have PM efficiency that all of a sudden goes up on each and every project. And as the PMs gets to know XTRF, they will be able to consciously turn some automations on, turn some automations off, and find the match that's best for what they and their clients need.
Exactly. So by introducing automation, we can save their time on every project. Probably there will be differences which project is automated to what extent, but on every project we can save something. And from our experience, you can easily go 30-40% down on your time spent per project in a company as a whole, right? Which reduces this 30% share of projects within the project cost. Down to something like 18 or 17.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of projects you do, but sometimes if your project is heavy on manual labor, there's a lot of tiny files. I have seen it for bigger companies to go halfway. So this is also possible. And it's an effect that can take time because the people need to get used to the system, to new ways of working.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we count it within the midterm profits or gains because project managers anyway are your fixed cost, right? So before you really realize any benefit here, there will be something that needs to change within the company. So either you have more projects and you're happy that you can handle them with the same team of project managers, or you have a certain idea how you can use the time of project managers that were freed up. For example, you invite them to call clients, take care of their future projects or future needs, discuss maybe extension of your collaboration and so on, right?
Yes. Another thing we've also mentioned in the short-term games that now, after getting used to it, will bring more impact to the company's top line would be the quote request form and the client portal. So once your client base or your target audience gets used to these being available on your website, once Google knows about them and can position them accordingly, then they will gain in popularity and they will bring more and more revenue. So again, we would see the gains on this revenue side, right? So XTRF helps clients sell more through technology, through being more automated, having shorter turnaround times, or having a more modern way of communicating and exchanging with clients, right? But above this, we still have some analytics that we can do inside the company, right? So having the system control lots of business processes, we have lots of data that we can build our decisions on. How about this? Yes. So it depends on when you say, I have enough data to make an informed decision. But usually someone who has gathered like 6 months worth of data or a year worth of information about their company is able to take away all the trends, seasonality, and make informed decisions. So now that you have all the data in one place, as easy as it has been with the vendors to filter through them, to browse them, to sort them, to extract, to present them visually on pie charts, on graphs, now you can make more informed decisions.
What they could be?
So one thing that strikes us when we are deploying XTRF is that people don't always know what they're good at. So they know more or less that it seems like our specialty are, say, Nordic languages. But then when you drill down to details, they don't always know which one is it or which specific vertical. Is it medical or IT? Because they just don't have this data.
Right. So proper reporting of, let's say, margin per language combination or margin per project type, right? Or margin per client type can lead to conclusions like which clients we should focus on and which maybe we should even abandon because they rather take our time than bring profit to the company.
Exactly. So this way you would know that you have really good quality that you're delivering to one specific client. It's languages from this reason, or it's this specialization. And now you can also try to target their competitors, their providers, their partners, their suppliers, because you know you have vendors that can deliver good quality for this specific group.
Right. So that's a lot of data, in fact. Let's put them a little bit into context, or let's summarize them. So we said you can cut costs, different cost positions within the project, and you can see it on the screen, the result. If you cut the vendor costs a little bit, just by 5%, and you cut the project manager cost by 12%, and you can reduce with automations also a little bit of the administration costs, like invoicing, POs, and these types of tasks, then your margin increases very much. On top of this, you've got all the result of selling more, positioning your offer better, being more accessible to clients, working 24/7, and so on. So this, in fact, increases the total revenue that you do.
It's a bigger percentage, but also from a bigger total.
Exactly. And by the way, you can see this on our calculator on our website, where we present what value XTRF can bring to your company, exactly basing on what's your revenue today.
It's a simplified version of what we have discussed today. So feel free to go online, visit our website, and use this XTRF revenue calculator to see what benefits XTRF can bring to your specific situation.
Yeah. There is one more thing that we should discuss today, I think. It's business risk, right? Because the more data we have in the system, the more knowledge is saved in the system, the less risk we have when people are ill or are not present in the company every day.
Yes.
Is it right?
Yes. The whole know-how of the company, things like workflows, preferred vendors for a client. This is all within XTRF. It all becomes digital. So you don't rely on someone being in the office or even working for you should you part ways. This is now owned by the company and stored within XTRF.
Yeah, so beforehand, your preferred project manager, he knew how to serve the client. But when he was ill, his experience was ill together with him, right? When he was on vacations, his experience was also on vacations. When this is all saved as a workflow, you said, then this experience is there. And anybody who replaces this person can follow the same procedures and serve the client in the same way. So business continuity and business risk is much lower here. So you are much safer in provided repetitive quality to your more and more clients.
Simple as that.
Okay, thank you very much. We hope it was useful, and we'll surely see you very soon in one of other movies.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.